So, hi everybody and welcome back to the Unreal Engine 5 tutorial series for absolute beginners. This is video 17 and in this video we continue with our game and my time gets shorter and shorter. My goal is before this epic mega jam starts here, I want to finish a full little game and I release it. And look this, I have only around 6 days now. And in my last video, of course, try join here to learn and have a little bit fun. But in my last video, we was there where when I started my game, you can see, I have already the core system more or less, and we are analyzing this one. We have analyzed the first part here, which was not this part. Let's start from here first. We put here the debug mode. With this F9, you can set up here the debug mode. This is my start point where I said you have to get and find the start point. It was our game mode. And when I use the debug mode, it starts from here. And then we went in. And the first thing what we analyzed was this load save game. And here, yes, I said this is important that you know this one because every game, 90% of all games have a save and load game because you're saving data, for example, scores or whatever you have, and later you load or at the start you load this data if you need them. So this one is very important and that you know this or that you have this in your game, but like I said, not all games have this, but most of them. So that's why we analyzed this, and I hope you know this a little bit better. And the problem was, I think I analyzed this bad. I should go just step by step and creating them instead of talking. So I will change this analyze in this video. So instead of going and saying what this node is, I will just create it. It's easier to follow probably. And yeah, with that said, let's go to the next node, what we are doing today, and that is the spawn player per pawn, because we want to spawn normally if you are using a third person character, it's a character. In this case, it's not a character because you see, we have here not a character. We have here something like, where is the, let's go here. We have here something like when I start, oops, not this one. Let's toggle this out. Let's go here to start. You can see here, we have here something like a square. And this one is not a character, but it is a pawn. And we already know a character is inheriting from a pawn. And that's why, yeah, we have to learn how to use a pawn just in this case. So this is just easier normally because we have just to set up this pawn. So let's go, and we are going only to this node here because that is normally what you do with in the third person template. You start the game, so press play game or the on top, and then your third person character is spawning and you have to control you control it automatically. In this case, we just set this up a little bit. So I go into this node here because we are here now, and yeah, and like I said, I will not explain it this time like in the last video. I will recreating so you can follow it a little bit better instead of listening what I'm talking. It's easier to follow, I realize, because that's not good what I made. Talking is, let's say, a little bit more complicated to follow than when, for starters, than when I just show what I make, right? So, but I say here what he is doing. In this case, normally you spawn the player character and then you possess it or whatever, depends on the implementation. In this case, what he is doing is, here at the start, he get all actors of class and gets first of all the player start. Then he is doing something like, just set it here. He is testing here something if this is not 0. And then he do here some other things. But let's do the first part here. So the question is why we need this. Because he need it. He placed in his level a level start here at this point, and he want that we start at this point here because this is the right side of the wall and he have a setup for this one. So, and how he make this, so he get here the player start and spawned the character, in this case the square, the pawn, here at exactly at this point here. So, and we will now see how it is doing that. I recreate this one. So first of all, get all actors of class. You know this node, call all actors of class. Many don't like this node, but in this case it's no problem as long as it is not on a tick event. It's all fine. And this program is anyway super little, so here it is not that wild. And then he is using the BP runner player. So this is his created player start. That's why BP runner player. This here he created. Let's jump here so you can see. Let's see if he's doing something. You see it's nothing. It's just a normal player start. The only thing what he does here is, I think, nothing, just inherited. And let's see, have it, well, this symbol here, perhaps, I don't know. And yeah, that's not so important. It's just a player start. And then let's go to the next step. What he's doing here, he make a check if this is not 0. For example, if it's 0, then he go here to the false section and say, warning, there must be a player start in every level. But this is for his setup. For our setup, we don't need this check because I have only one level and I know if all works that I will be there. So this one I can skip. And then he just get here like all time when we get something from get all actors as class. We know this one will give us here an array with all the found actors here. And I have only one, so I know I need not check more. In this case, I know the first one, which when it finds one, the first one, which is index 0 here, it will be exactly that one which I need. And what he does here more is, of course, when we find it, he set it to promote to variable. And the reason for that is that you have all time access later it instead of getting it here long lines. Instead of having here long lines when you are referring to anywhere, you make all time this reference and then just call this variable at the place where you need it. That's why we have all time this reference variables. So, and in this case, I use this reference variable because I want not create a new one. So I use this one. Normally you would here just right click promote to variable and you would name it this way, what this one here is. And then you are just have something like that. All right, this kind of stuff is standard. Oh, not really standard, but it's okay. And then we have here what he's doing in his setup is let's see what he's doing. First of all, we have a sequence. Sequence means, first of all, this node here, the sequence node will execute in order this line, the first line, and finished all what comes there. And then when all here, this first line is finished, then it jumps back to the sequence and starts the second node here, the second one. And if you have here more, then it would go here more and more. Important is the sequence node is executed when you start first time, and then it's executed not as a new, not really as a new frame. I don't know this exactly, but in the frame when this one was executed. That's very important here, the start frame. And then this one is executed and then this one is executed. But this part here in front is only one time executed. So that's very important. So with that said, what is the first, we have to check what he is doing in the first one. Before we read anything here, read all time the comments, because the comments gives us some hints most time if it's a good comment. If it's a bad comment, which I do sometimes, it's not good, but normally it should give us a good hint. It says here, check to see if the user has used a character select menu. I don't have used this, so I know, no, I have something that. And then it says here, select menu to override the default pawn for the game. If they have, then update the game type pawn class. I know here from start, no, which means probably I will have not used that, but we can go and see what he's doing. He goes here to the character, select pawn, used again interface, but I think I skipped this. I don't have used it. Just that's why I don't have used it. The other thing which is important, I skipped this. I don't have used it. So that's why I will not make this one. we skip this because we are not using this. Of course, when you analyze a new code, still check here if he is setting up anything else beside that what he says here in the description, because sometimes yes, sometimes the description is too short and they do also other things, and that's why you have to check normally. But I have already watched a little bit this one and I know I don't have. That's why we skip this, so I'm not remaking this one. We have till now this one, and which means, like I said, first we execute this line here. This one we don't have anyway in our code. Then we go down to this line, and this line is a standard thing. You spawn the character normally, which we know from the third person character. Here we spawn not the third person character, here we spawn this square. And here the spawn class, here it's defined, and we have to talk about this class here again because this is special made. And then we get here the runner play start. That's what we get here at start. This is the spawn play. So here player start. Here I want spawn it, and this player start. From that one I take here the location. It says here transform, which means just transform is also the location, just with a rotation and scaling as well. All right, this is standard that you should know when you spawn a character, for example. We have only talked about this class here a little bit, but let's go here to the next point as well fast. After we spawned our square, in my case not a character, a square, which is a pawn, and that's very important, then you can use all time this node here. It is called possess. Possess comes from target is the controller, the player controller, and the player controller can possess all time a pawn. Possess a pawn means you are getting access to it and you want use it. So for example, this possess works also with character. Why? Because you can possess also the character, and the character inherits from a pawn, so it will work on character too, but normally you don't make this in character, I think, only when you switch characters or something like that, then you make this one. Then you use there also this possess node here. If you switch from one character to another, you want to use the other one, then you say possess, and here at the target you are specifying what you want. Here, for example, in this case, target is of course our player controller who want possess something, and here the second node is say what you want possess. In our case we want possess that what we spawn here. In our case we spawn here the square, so the spawn square. I want possess this one. All right, so let me recreate this fast, but not all, because I think, yes, I recreate this one fast, because like I said, explaining is sometimes a little bit crappy for absolute beginners. They like it more to make this. So what I do now here is spawn actor. Let's do this fast. I make here spawn actor from class, like all time. This node is a standard node. Normally you spawn actor and use a character if you have a character based game, not like here a square based game, which is just a pawn. Then you select here, for example, what we did most time in standard is maybe third. Okay, here's no third person character, but there is all time this one. But here we have to talk about this class in a moment, because what he is here using, I don't know if I need this, but it's a little bit complicated. But let's make this one first. So what I want to do is where I want spawn the class which I'm going to select. I want spawn it there where I get this node. In this case, actually here I don't need even the variable. Normally you can get here the player start from here, anywhere saved here, but I don't know where. And transform. Player start, runner player start. Yes, here normally you would get here displays like they get, and then you can get here this one what they made here. You can see it, and then so. But here in my case, because I skipped all this code here, and here I can directly go here in it, but not directly. Of course, I need first get transform. We know this, transform, get actor transform, and here we can just connect this one. So the first part we have done. The second part, it's I have to explain you something here. And normally this part is very easy. Why normally? Because it is just a variable, and the variable you can see here, you can define what you want to get. But here it is something strange. Let's go back to this order here. That was his setup. Here is something strange. What is the class here? Here it says nothing. Oops. Why it says nothing? We can't spawn nothing. It must be something. And the case in this situation is, this is set, but, and that is important if you know inheritance, then you know that you can set this class also in other places where you have, for example, here, you can set this one in a child place. So if you don't know what inheritance is, it's a little bit bad to explain here, but the easy thing is, if you have something with children's and parents, then you can set also the value in other places. That's and you have to read a little bit about inheritance. What this mean is, and why I'm pointing this out, this one can irritate many people. And what I mean with that, irritating many people, let's deselect this one fast. Let's put a debug here. Let's start here. What's going on? Tab in the following blueprints. What is here? Blueprint failed to compile. Ah, yes, because I started this one there. Oh, all right. Sorry again. I have connected this one here on top. Of course, it fails to compile. All right, now we are on track. So again, compile here. Now it's compiled. Let's start here. Let's get here. And we go now down here where we spawn our character. And I want to show you that. So we are here. And when I click here, it says still none. But when I hover my mouse over it, it says here, BP player vertical runner, where it comes from. And this kind of stuff, like I said, irritate many starters. And the reason is you need to know inheritance. Inheritance means, like I said before, we have here, for example, a parent class. But careful, we have perhaps here also a child class. And in this case, when we go, for example, first of all, before we go anywhere, we go here in this left side where it says blueprint. You click here, and here you on the top it says show inherited variables. That you have to activate to see inherited variables, because we are talking now inheritance a little bit. And then this game type here, which you see here, is actually an inherited variable. Can we see that? Yes, we can deactivate this one. And now when I go down, you don't see it. So that was also another problem which I wanted to show you. Most starters have a problem when they start here. They don't see the variable here. They try to find it here and search and then go here and up and down. Yes, you need to know when you are in a class that it can be have a parent or a child, and then you have activate this menu here, show inherited variables. And now this variable here you can see here, because before you could not see it. And now you know, okay, this one is inherited from what now? From here on the top right side we see parent class. We have go there, we can open up, but we have here a problem. Here is this variable, but we see it is not set here. Then you can do something like reference, not this one, reference. Most time you click this find references to check where it is used, and it says here some places. And what is that? What's that? Respawn player. All right, you find here some references where it is used. And then we are using it here, we are using it here, we are using it here, but we have still a problem. Is this really all places? Let's see, maybe game mode, game. So this reference fever or whatever called, it's not showing us other places. I want to show you normally. Already click this one here, and then you click this find in all blueprints here, this one here. And when you do this, normally you would find it in all blueprints, but here is something Ah, that's the problem. Now I get it. Perhaps it says here find in all blueprints, and this one is not showing all places. Ah, now I get it. The problem with blueprints is this one is not showing in all places because it is not showing in child. And the reason for that is because it is defined in child, but this variable is not used in our blueprint, and that's why it can't find it. So it is not shown here. Let me show you what I mean. That's why I was a little bit irritated. I thought it is also finding variables which are not put in blueprints, which are just here on the side. Let me show you what it means. First of all, my goal is to find the value, because here at this point where we are, not here. Oh, I was here. Where we are. Oh, mate, this jumping around. Let's make it so easier. I don't know where we are. So we are here. So at this point, I want to know this variable here. And now I read, okay, this one is inherited. Cool, cool. Here, inherited. Then I know I can go up. Went up. And here, it's still not set. I watched all the references here. If there is a setter or something like that, that's why I watch this one normally. And then I click this one, and then I try to find setter, because the value here, this game type pawn class must be set. That's the problem. So then you go here, and here is a setter. Let's go in. But the problem is, this was exactly the part which I'm not using, because this is not a setter. Actually, the one which I use, there is another setup, and I can't see it, and that's why I was before a little bit irritated, because there is one more place where this variable is actually used, and another place is the child. We learned that this game mode has 3 connected blueprints. The first one is called BP game mode base. Then we have a BP game mode game, and this one is the first actually. This one is the BP game mode vertical runner, which I am using here in my map. Here, this game mode, this map here, which I'm in, which is here the level which I loaded. When we go here to the game mode, it says here this is the first game mode. So BP game mode. Let me open this one up. Game mode, okay, we can't, but it's the vertical runner, right? So this one, it says here game mode vertical runner. All right, this is that. And normally what you do is then, okay, let's open this one up. And here again, you have, of course, all time activate this show inherited variables. And here is again this variable, and bang, look what we have here. We have here a setup. So, and that's very important to know, because here it says it will get the variable BP player vertical runner. And of course, when I start here again, this one fast, you could see this with the debug also. Just go here, hover your mouse over it, and this one here is exactly what it's called. But the irritation is all time, if you want to understand where it is called, or if you want something to change in the code, then it is irritating. All right, I hope you get this one. And yeah, that was the most complicated part. But this thing here, the spawning, is actually very easy, because normally you could set this here directly. Also, normally you set this directly, and in this case, he made a system, because he had a different layer system, so different modes. I mean, he has a vertical runner, a sun runner, and all other runner, and that's why he set this every time. Depends on the game here, depends on the net game in the map which he's using. If it's a sun runner, then this one will be perhaps another character. If it's a, I don't know which runner, then he will set this another character. But in our case, we don't need this, but I still use this one to make it short now, because I already made this. So what you do is here again on top, here we have spawned we know where the player we get the player start. We know here I want spawn this character, what it is in the player start. Here is the inherited value. Let's use it because I don't make one. I could make here another one, but then I fill more variables up. I'm too lazy. Get it. So I know this one will be set now because now I know where it is set and I can just get it. And let's see what we have there. Is there something more? No, it's just a set in. And that's it. So actually my code looks, one more step of course. Let's make this so. Let's set this so. And yeah, let's make this a little bit more accurate. So, oh, I don't like it. Okay, this one goes down. I don't like it. So anyway, that's not so important if I like it or not like it. Important is here this last step, and I said this last step is just process it because the controller must get it. And let's do this one as well. This one is normally, yeah, I don't know if we need this because this one is again for his setup. I'm not sure if we need this, but we make it. So we process the character. Normally we don't need it when we have only one map because the player controller will process it normally, but let's do it. Why not? It will not kill us. So if we can test it without, by the way, and then see what happens. So this is actually the real code what I need, and this is the code what he got. So let's test this first before we change this, if this is working. And you can see this one is working without this thing. And we don't need process because we have already here the it is here one map only, and we are not switching anyhow characters and so. But yeah, so you can compare this code here, and that was just for explanation. This one I keep, but in my case, one more thing here to this node here. Let's connect this back. Here, if you have most data has sometimes problem to understand some concepts or artists as well, then what you can do is very simple. Just use that what is provided. You don't have to do that what I do here. This is more for that you want to first of all understand all in detail, and then later perhaps add your own customization code and also a little bit optimization. You see my code is a little bit less than that because he has other elements and features for his game which I don't need in my little game. In my game I need only this one here, this little setup. It's working. Or that was it not even. I have not connected this one. That was not true. Sorry. I made a mistake. I talk crap. Perhaps it is wrong. I forgot to set up this one. So what we have here, and you can see it is not possessed. Okay, we have to possess this character. All right, let's possess it. And let's see if this is working. No. All right. So that was the last step here, which I have to do. Compile, save, and now again. And yes. And now you can see this possessing. We need the controller needs to know what he should possess. Most time you don't see this possess character in this third person template directly because it's already set up so that you don't need to possess it there. But this one here, when we have a setup like this one, you saw that I needed it. So with this is my setup. So, and this is like I said before, if you are an artist or if you don't know, if you don't know everything, the easiest thing what you can do is you say, first of all, you check if the code is working. If it's working, then you just take it and don't care about it. For example, you can see this code here, what I have here down is now has the same behavior. The only difference is, like I said before, there are things which I'm not using. There are things what I use not here, and yeah, I could make it even a little bit more simpler in my case. And yeah, but that's it. But as an artist or as a beginner who is new in coding, don't worry, just use that what they provide. You are anyway interested in the functionality, right? We are just interested in the functionality and look, this one is exactly the other one. So you don't have to just understand this functionality. Is it's working for your game? Perfect. If not, yeah, that's another question. All right, I think it was again a longer video, but that was the one part which we had to analyze, because spawning a character or a pawn in this case, it's a very elemental core thing. You need this in every game. Every game has not a representation of a character. There are some games you have, for example, simulators. You have there not one character, but you have a lot of simulated things where you just click with your mouse or just change anything. So there are other games where not, let's say, which are not really spawning characters or pawns. Keep this in mind too, because there are very many different kind of games which you can make, which is not using this one. But in our case, and in many cases, a spawning character or something like that, where we possess something, it's already there. But every game you will use will have a player controller. That's for sure, because you won't control it anyhow what you play, right? All right, with that said, I think I stop here. We will continue about a little bit more about the core systems, and then not too much, because we have here not so much left. That was the player controller. We have to talk about this separately. He got here something, a manager and so on, but not so many systems. And then, yeah. Then I try to connect all this in game and try to make this finish as fast as possible, because I have really less time now. 6 days. I wasted a lot of time by doing nothing, but it's okay. We will still manage it, I hope. So with that said, if you have any questions, any complaints, like all time, write it in the comments. And with that said, have fun, and we see us in the next. Bye. Good luck.